I've run labor across 12 restaurants for 22 years, and the owners drowning in labor costs almost never have a wage issue. They have a scheduling problem that they refuse to call a scheduling problem, and today I'm walking through the exact labor formula I use along with the mistake most owners are making and the tool I use to run all of it. Let's establish some rules first. Labor cost. 30% or less is your baseline. And a few definitions so you and I are working on the same page here. When I say labor all in, I mean all in. What did you pay the payroll company? Everything in that is your labor. Don't take out,
Oh, well, here's the hourly, but I don't include salary, and I don't include what I pay myself, and I don't include that.
because that's bull. You gotta know what came out of your bank versus what came in to have your labor cost. If you try and play a game and say, oh, that's not labor cost, it just goes somewhere else. And the only one losing is you. So hourly wages, along with salary, along with workman's comp, along with your kerfuffle tax and everything else in between is in that mofo. And I want you to average it across the week. Don't look at your point of sale report on a Saturday night that says you're running 14% labor and believe that nonsense. You gotta know what's about to happen is you gotta staff up the next morning where you're not gonna be making a bunch of money while you're doing prep, or you have a dead Monday or Tuesday. Don't look at the best time it ever is and be like, well, that's what we usually do, because you're an optimist, you're not a realist, and you're screwing yourself by doing that. Because labor lives in the world of prime cost, along with the cost of goods sold, i.e. your food and your labor, both combined need to be under 60%. So if you're a fine dining restaurant, you might have a higher food cost. Okay, but you then have to offset it by lower labor costs. So your all in combined is under 60%. And if you want to get into all things food cost, I broke that down in this video. So check that one out. All right, but here's what you're here for, labor and how you're going to get it down. So here's what we got to do. First off, don't do the dumb thing of looking at your schedule and then just copying and pasting last week. That is a telltale sign that you didn't put enough effort into it, and it's only going to cost, again, you and me if we do it like that. That is scheduling for habit, scheduling for comfort, or just because you're super burnt out. And I get it, this is a hard gig. Nonetheless, you can't do it that way. Unless this week is identical to last week and you've had no staff changes and everything worked perfectly, don't do that. But what we want to do instead is look at this upcoming week with a projection. What do we project we're going to be doing? Is it identical in sales to last week? Okay. Is it somewhat different? Do we have a big event coming into town? Do we have something noticeably bigger or less occurring this upcoming week that we need to adjust for? So if last week we projected for 30K and this upcoming week we're projecting for 35K, then what day will that 35K difference be coming from? Is Saturday and Sunday having some massive event worth 5K? If we know that going in, now we can schedule towards it. Also, are we looking at last year? Last year, there were some great sales last year in the same week. Okay, why? Was it just a great weekend weather-wise, or was there an event? Was there a one-time concert or a recurring yearly event? These things matter when we look at our upcoming schedule. And when we build our schedule, we want to have 3 types of schedules. Our baseline average, let's say you're doing 30K, you assume to do another 30K, great, that's your baseline schedule. Then oh wow, so many things are happening this week. It's going to be a much busier week, a heavy schedule. And the third one is our skeleton schedule. The skeleton schedule is everyone's leaving town. There is nothing going on, i.e. we need to schedule tight and lean to the base of what we need to just operate. When we have 3 sets of schedules as our framework, we can then fill in the hours easily and save on time, but also save on money. So now we have a plan, whether it's a heavy week, a baseline week, or a skeleton week. With that plan, we then fill in the gaps with all the people in the shifts that we need to fill in. And we then make sure that it matches the projection. So if this is a heavy week and we're matching up to 35K, we now have the labor that's going to come under 30% all in for that amount of revenue. We then schedule to less than 30% of that. Bear in mind, if your salary people are not factored into the schedule, we need to capture what is salary cost all in and then minus it. So let's say salary comes out to 4K. So if we're assuming 35,000, then we have 10,500 to mess with. But if we have 4K in salary, we really have 6,500 to mess with. And if we know that taxes and all sorts of other stuff is going to make that even less, then we're scheduling to that number, knowing that in the schedule, each person's hourly wage is factored into it and notated and logged in correctly. If we've done all that pre-work, this will be a lot easier. Now that we know, let's say we actually only have 7,000 to schedule to, and we set it up that way for this heavy week, assuming we make 35K, we're set up for success. So now that we have our set projection, what about when things don't go according to plan? This is when the variance report comes in. Keep that one in mind. If there's one thing you take from this video, it's variance report. Do you have one? The variance report is going to say, all right, we projected Tom to work from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m., but he actually showed up at 8:30 a.m. and stayed till 4 p.m. That's an extra hour and a half. Now, let's say he did that all week. The variance report's going to show, hey, here's where people went off the plan, and now you know you can do something about it. If you didn't have that variance report, you would have to go back and try and find like a needle in a haystack, because at the end of the week, or maybe even 2-week period, you're saying, wait, hold on. Why are we 4K high on labor? Oh, boss, we trained that one guy, and it was crazy. We had to do a lot of cleaning. All right, and it's too late. When you're doing it daily, and in a worst case weekly, you can go back and say, hold on, we projected for 35K, we hit 35K. Why are we high on labor? Oh, I see. It's because Tom is coming in early and leaving late. Who is his manager during those shifts? The variance report allows you to do that, sets you up for success, gives you the awareness that you wouldn't have otherwise if your projections weren't matching and connected to your actuals. Now, if that manager isn't holding the person accountable, or there's some other issue with your labor or food cost or marketing, book a 90-day restaurant review call. The link is in the description, where we will deep dive on all your issues along with your labor and see what you need to be doing immediately. We're going to give you some freebies on the call, and you're going out of that call better than when you went in, regardless if Unsliced is for you or not. And again, the link is in the description. And let me be really clear. I'm able to do all this because I have a tool to do it, and that tool is 7Shifts. Now, you might have a different scheduling tool. Here's the thing, you need a scheduling tool. Regardless of which one you choose, Excel is not a scheduling tool. A regular baseline spreadsheet is not a scheduling tool. If it's not connected from your scheduler to your point of sale and marrying up the data and telling you what to do about it, you don't have a tool, you just have a scheduling awareness platform. Hey, here's when to work and nothing else. And that won't work. With 7Shifts, we're able to also change shifts without losing our ass. So if someone wants to change shifts with someone who makes a lot more money than them per se, we can deny that. Or we can say, hey, here's your zone, here's your zone. So that way we know people are cross-training. All these things matter, and that's the one that I'm personally using. If you want to try it yourself, by all means, but that's the one we've been with for a long time, and we dig it, and I don't dig every type of app. So if I'm digging it, you might dig it as well. Another thing a tool like 7Shifts or whatever you're using has to do is have that forecasting part of it. And an automatic forecast, or referencing last year, all marries that up. Back in the day, we used to have to write down each week what we did in sales and then reference what used to be called Redbook to know it, and have to go back into the archives like we're under the Vatican trying to find this thing. And we don't have to do that anymore. So please don't act like it's still 2006. Use technology to your advantage, because if you're not using a variance report, you're going to be torching hours. You just are. We were, until we realized that that report was there, we were losing about 5K a pay period. That's a ton of money. And it was simple. It was just people stayed too long. They just closed out too long. And they're like, well, I'm working hard. And it's not that they were wrong. We just scheduled stupidly. We had too many people working at the same time, which then caused them to talk. And then we weren't holding them to a standard because we were thinking, we had a really busy night. Who cares? We care. They have to care. Everyone has to care, with the facts of the matter that say, hey, here's how much time we have to do this. We got to go faster, or we're doing good on time. Keep doing your thing. Also, if you do want 7Shifts, because I get hit up every time I do a video like this, like,
Wait, how do you blah, blah.
there's a link in the description for a discount that they gave to me so you can use it yourself. And let me be clear, this is not a shill for 7Shifts. It's what I would use no matter what. Now, I mentioned roles, and I want to re-emphasize that roles and cross-training is super, super, super important in a kitchen. If you can assign people to specific parts of the kitchen, you will ensure that they cross-train. Otherwise, you're gonna have one guy who's like,
Oh, that's my salad guy. And he's always on salad.
and that's fine during the rush, But when it's a Tuesday at 3 p.m., they can't do anything else. Or when your oven person calls in sick, they can't do anything else. That's why having roles that set, hey, you're going to do this section, you're going to do this section, and then tomorrow you're going to change positions is important. And if you don't want to have to memorize all that, just do it via the schedule, via roles. Of course, everyone during most of the day has to be able to just cross-train everything. And then at night, in the heat of the battle, they're in their role. And a scheduler just makes that easy. Another smart move to do with this is have people take on the dish position as a role. That way, no one's above dish. No one thinks,
oh, I don't really do that.
And when it gets really busy, everyone knows exactly how to do that role correctly, because not knowing how to do dish is what's going to cause you to have a long ass night. Because crossover creates redundancy. Redundancy saves you on money. And it's the little things, because it's Tuesday at 3 o'clock that you lose. It's not during your rush. So if you could have one, maybe two people do everything in the kitchen at that hour, you're the one who benefits. If you can give a pop in money to the people who are the fastest closers, you think you're paying more? You're actually saving, because if they could do the job in 1 hour while it used to take 3 people 3 hours, you just cut your hours from 9 total hours to 2 total hours. And that's where the profit is saved, in using the schedule correctly and managing it efficiently. And I broke all that down in my kitchen profit video. Check that one out after this one. So in closing, there's not one magic bullet that does all the work. You gotta do a few different things simultaneously well. These are the smartest ones, i.e. having a scheduler, using it appropriately, i.e. having an actual versus projection, a variance report tied to all of it, and then managing it efficiently. When you do that along with roles and leadership, you will reduce your total spend in labor and do it in a manner that benefits your crew. And to figure out how to go about that the smartest way possible, book your restaurant review call. If you're an independent restaurant, whether pre-open or multiple units, you will save money by doing on slides. We have hundreds of people that have done this program and no one's ever asked for a refund. There's a reason for that, because this is tried and true active methods that we're using to have profitable years, year after year. And you can as well. Your restaurant review call, it's a quick call where we're going to deep dive on your brand. You come out of it better than when you started. And along with that, 7 Shifts, again, is something I'm passionate about because it saved a lot of money for our business. If you want a link to that, both the restaurant review call and the 7 Shifts link are in the description. Check them out, and I will see you on the next video.